Hey everybody, Dan Murrell here with a review of Winchester, the only wide release going out into theaters this weekend, and a movie that was not screened for critics, which is never a good sign. I went and saw this movie last night. It's opening today, and this movie actually got a little bit of a buzz because it is a horror movie, and the prestige around it, particularly with star Dame Helen Mirren, who's been in so many great movies and has given so many great performances, I think piqued a lot of interest, including mine, that this might be something in the genre that's a little bit different, that might transcend so many of the mediocre horror movies that we get year in and year out, particularly at the beginning of the year. Winchester is directed by the Spierig brothers, who directed Daybreakers and last year's Jigsaw, which I thought was kind of an uninspired reboot of the Saw franchise. They also did rewrites and get co-writing credit on the script. Helen Mirren plays Sarah Winchester, who is the heir to the Winchester rifle fortune, and this is based on a real person, a real place. There is a Winchester mansion in San Jose, and it is infamous and a big tourist attraction, mainly because Sarah Winchester moved there and started building all of these rooms into the house. And the movie plays it up. It's the most interesting thing of the movie is the idea that she was haunted by the spirits, or at least the memories of the people that had been killed by Winchester rifles over the years. So she moved to this house and turned it into this labyrinth of hallways that don't go anywhere and stairs that go into the ceiling, doors that lead to nothing. And the reason behind this is that she was building these rooms to appease the spirits and to help them move on. Now, in real life, this story is kind of nebulous. There are, plenty of reports that say, like, this was the exact reason why she did this. There's some reports that said, like, well, it's a little bit apocryphal, but that doesn't matter when it comes to this movie. It's inspired by actual events, and it keeps true enough to that the premise is actually really interesting. And I love the setting, the idea of being in this house that is labyrinthine, that has all of these corners and creepy places where things and interesting ghosts can pop out. The problem with Winchester is it doesn't really do much with this interesting premise. After you introduce Sarah Winchester and the idea of the spirits of the people that the rifles had killed, once you get that out of the way, which I thought was the most interesting part of the movie, it becomes the same standard jump scare haunted house horror movie that you've seen so many times before. And that's a real shame, because with this cast, which also includes Jason Clarke as a psychiatrist who's sent to evaluate Sarah Winchester's frame of mind, I think you had a great combination of really strong actors, an interesting real life premise, and a great setting that could have been used very effectively as a very unique, different take in the horror genre, and I think that potential was squandered here. Now, this is inspired by actual events, but don't expect some kind of historical, based on the headlines, ripped from history kind of thing, because this is very conventional. It's the same kind of possession storyline that you've seen in so many other movies. Possession is one aspect of it, but there's really not much original here. It seems like the movies knew that they had a good hook with the Winchester house, with Sarah Winchester, with her story, and just kind of took that and put it onto the bones of a pretty standard horror movie haunted house bones. Like the structure of this thing is interesting, but you delve down in the inside and there's not much there. And as somebody who's very squeamish during horror movies, in that I really don't like jump scares and I don't like being startled, I hope and I really want horror movies to transcend that. The easiest thing in the world to do is to startle your audience. All you need is a loud sound on the soundtrack, and it's a very easy reaction to get. And I actually kind of appreciate horror movies more when they go beyond that, because it is such an unpleasant experience for me that when a movie kind of takes the audience on this ride and does that, but doesn't really offer much beyond the cheap jump scare, I kind of say, what's the point? Yeah, you made me jump. That's really easy to do. To actually scare somebody, or to offer an environment that's full of actually creepy things, that's what impresses me. And I didn't really get any of that from this movie. This was also, movies have different budgets, and so not everything has to look like a multi-million-dollar production. But I also thought part of the thing in the horror genre that's important to make it stand out is that a movie should have some style to it. This is a movie that I didn't think looked very great. It's lit and shot very bright. It looks kind of like a TV movie. And when you're dealing, again, with so much of the movie being creeping around a dark, haunted house, you need that extra style element to really sell the premise. and to make the movie stand out. And I don't think this movie had that either. So looking at Winchester, I think it had the promise and the potential of a great movie. It did not transcend that premise. It's very standard. It doesn't really look that good. Helen Mirren and Jason Clarke, who do most of the heavy lifting in this movie, are okay. They're not great. I thought that everything in this movie felt very perfunctory. It felt very middle of the road, and there's really nothing to stand out about this movie that would make me recommend that you go see it, unless you are just a hardcore fan of the horror genre and will go see any horror movie that comes out. If you just like to watch horror movies and you don't really care about anything special other than that it has ghosts and jump scares, then you'll probably watch this and you might like it. It's better than some of the lower rungs of the ladder, like The Bye Bye Man, which is a movie that came out last year, which I really didn't like. This is a rung above that, but nothing special in the genre and nothing really that would make me recommend that you go see it. That's my review of Winchester. Thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned here on Screen Junkies News as we cover all the movies. February is a big month. We're going to be reviewing them right here on Screen Junkies News. Thanks for watching.